Hey guys, it's Snailbiter, and I've got another World of Tanks video here. And I had a few more replays, older replays that I wanted to show you guys, and a couple of them were with some of the Tier 8 premium tanks that I have in my garage. So I thought I would actually combine them into one video and just make this video a bit of a display of the Tier 8 premium tanks that I have. So I've got this replay with the Type 59, and then another replay with the KV-5, and a third one with the FCM 50t that I wanted to show you guys. So those will be coming up. But this first game is on Serene Coast. It's a pretty interesting game. As you can see from XVM, our team appears to be a lot better than the enemy team. Although this rounds up being a lot closer than I would have expected. I ended up doing a fair amount of damage, which is the reason I'm showing it to you. I think I might get Confederate in this round as well, although I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, the Type 59 is probably my favorite out of the Tier 8 premium tanks that I have. It's one of the few medium tanks in the game, I think, that has a combination of speed and armor. Probably the only other tank with similar characteristics to the Type 59 is the T-54. And basically what that means is that the Type 59 can take on most lower tier tanks and just pretty much dominate them, because the majority of lower tier tanks have so much trouble penning its frontal armor. And so that just really makes it a lot of fun to play. So I went here to the center on Serene Coast. Serene Coast was one of the maps that Wargaming initially removed from the map rotation and changed around. I think it was released again in maybe patch 8.8. And out of the three that they changed, the other two being Swamp and Kamaran, I think Serene Coast is probably my favorite. I think the flank that they added on the eastern side of the map definitely opens it up a little bit and makes it a little easier to be aggressive. This map doesn't feel nearly as campy as it used to. It's not my favorite map, but it's definitely better than what it used to be. And so now what I like to do, really no matter what tank I'm playing, but especially if I'm in a medium tank, is I like to go to the center of the map into this bowl area, kind of by D4. I think this is a really good spot for getting early lights on enemy tanks, and it's also just a good spot for medium tanks because it allows you to support both flanks. It's a good spot where you can flex to either side depending on which flank needs the most help. And generally that's the way I like to play medium tanks, is I like to kind of support both sides or be in a position where I can support both sides if I have to. I don't usually like to commit fully to one side, and so I was actually surprised here in this round because those two IS-3s went right over the middles, and I just happened to be in a good spot where as you saw, I was able to keep them both kind of tracked and exposed out in the open, so that my allies could get good shots on them. So that kind of just worked out worked out well for me. I've already been able to do a pretty good amount of damage as well in this round. Although our team's not doing too well, we're down one tank. We sent almost nobody to that eastern flank, and so we've pretty much lost that side already. Now here I'm just trying to support this Panther. I got one shot into the KV-3, and then that ISU 152 showed up, and I want no part of him. So I just quickly backed up. I decided to try to re-engage him in a different way, and at least respot him, but I couldn't get a good shot on him, and I really didn't want to. I didn't want him aiming at me, so I just decided to back off and try to flank him. I'm not too worried about any of the tanks that are on this side. Most of their tier 8s are on that eastern flank. You can see on the minimap the VK-4502A is on the other side, and my ally who's in my platoon actually just took out that T-34. So I'm just going to try to flank these guys and get some side shots. Go to the other side of this these railroad tracks. I'm still at full health, so I know that if I have to, I can take a hit if necessary, and it looks like now our team's managed to turn this game around a little bit as we've cleaned up some of the guys on that other flank. So I see this M5 Stewart get spotted, and I decided to take him out. Scouts can be pretty dangerous, especially towards the end of rounds when you've got slower tanks on your team. So I decided to stop and try to take him out. Unfortunately, I get shot in the side there, and that kind of throws off my second shot on that M5 Stewart, and I end up only retracking him instead of killing him. It was actually a pretty bad shot on my part. But I get behind this house and finish him off, and then get a bit lucky with that tracking shot on this T-150, but this is really what makes the Type 59 so good, is Now I've got my frontal armor angled towards him, and there's really nothing he can do in this situation. He has basically no hope of penning me with my frontal armor, and I can just keep him retracked here. I don't even have to worry about trying to circle him or anything. I can just stay behind cover, so I don't have to worry about that ISU-152, and that's really, I mean, the Type 59 can do that to the majority of Tier 6 and Tier 7 tanks, and that's really what makes it so much fun to play. So I'm careful here to try to keep these houses between me and where I think the ISU-152 is. I get a couple of good shots in the back of this KV-3, and I'm just waiting for that ISU-152 to appear on the minimap if he tries to attack me or anything, but he doesn't, and so now he's the only tank left and I can go after him. I see that tree get knocked down in front of me, so I know he's right there. He actually surprised me a little bit. I wasn't expecting him to be this aggressive and going after me. Take a bit of a cheeky shot there. It was kind of risky, but he whiffs his shot, and now I can just easily get around him as he has a long reload. And I think the Panther is going to steal this kill at the end. But I end up with 3 kills and just under 5,000 damage, which I think is pretty good for a Tier 8 medium tank. And there you can see I get just shy of 1,400 raw experience. So hope you guys enjoyed this replay. And now let's move on to the next one. Alright, so this was the round I wanted to show you guys with the KV-5. It's a round on Ensk Encounter, and this is really the perfect matchup for this tank. The KV-5 gets preferential matchmaking, which is really nice. It can never see any higher than Tier 9s. But it's a slow tank, and it's pretty big and bulky, so getting a city map is really perfect for this tank. The gun on the KV-5 is pretty weak, and it's actually probably one of the few tanks that I have where I don't feel too guilty about using premium rounds. So you'll see me fire a few later on when I'm shooting at the enemy KV-5, because otherwise it's kind of like a T-54 versus a T-54, where, you know, with with standard ammunition, T-54s really won't be able to pen each other from the front very reliably. So you're kind of forced to use premium rounds. But one thing that I think is often overlooked about the KV-5, which I think really gives it a pretty big advantage, especially over the tanks that it'll come up against, since it does get preferential matchmaking, is the fact that it has 1,700 hit points, which is really a lot more than most of the other tanks that it'll face. You know, most Tier 8 tanks have, I mean, heavy tanks have around 1,500 hit points. I think maybe the Tiger II has 1,600. I'm not sure about that, but that means that the KV-5 can take quite a few hits before it gets taken out, and especially against lower tier tanks, its armor is pretty bouncy. Its tracks absorb so many shots, it's kind of ridiculous. So I mean, it really makes it a tough tank to kill, considering the matchups that it's likely to get. It does have that major weak point on the front, the so-called R2-D2. And so that's part of the reason for why I ended up actually reversing my tank around so that my butt was facing the enemies, is because often if you angle your back towards the enemy tank, it's harder to pen than just the front, because it doesn't have any obvious weak points. The other reason I wanted to do that was because I didn't have a ton of support, so I wanted to be able to get out of that situation as quickly as I could. I mean, the KV-5 is not fast, but that would make it a little easier for me to escape if I had to. So you see me decide to turn around. This 12T got into our base, and I'm not really sure if our YAG-88 was AFK or what he was doing back there, but he didn't seem like he was capable of taking him out, so I turned around, and actually I was surprised by this, but I ended up getting the kill. Kind of leave that Tiger II back there by himself, but I was more concerned about getting surrounded. I wanted to just secure our base before facing off against these guys. I think artillery hit me there. I'm not totally sure, because I don't know that T-34-85 could have shot me or even penned me from over there. So, and I'm going to turn back around. I was hoping I could maybe try to support this Tiger II and help him out a little bit, as he's getting shot in the side by a T-34. take a rushed shot there and it dips into his track and bounces, so that was frustrating. And I just decided to try to take out this T-34-85, just try to eliminate the enemy tanks that are over here so that I don't have as much to face. Because at the moment I've got 3 close to full health enemy tanks in front of me, and I just wanted to deal with as few of them as possible. So you saw that other KV-5 pen me. I'm pretty sure he was shooting premium rounds at me. He actually pens me a couple times in the turret. The turret is actually fairly weak on the KV-5. It's pretty easy to pen, especially if you have a higher penetration gun. I've noticed that I'll often get T-34s that shoot me just even in the mantlet, and the shots will go through. So that can be kind of frustrating sometimes. As here you'll see, I'm trying to the KV-5 pens me again at the corner of my turret, which was kind of frustrating. I took a few bad shots there as well. I was hoping I could get a shot off without getting hit, and just rushed the shots and completely missed them. So at this point it looks like our team's going to cap out. I'm just trying to stay alive, and at this point I decided I've had enough of this KV-5. I'm just going to shoot premium rounds at him. And I'm in a nice spot here where I can angle, and I can hide my R2-D2 so that he doesn't have an easy weak point to aim for. That IS is going to have a lot of trouble penning me in the side at the angle that I'm giving him, so I'm not too worried about him, and I can just keep penning this KV-5 in the front. Although there I bounce. I rushed that shot a little bit more than I had to. IS bounces again, and I bounce again. Oh, I'm doing a good job hiding my tank behind this building, as this KV-5 isn't able to get a good shot into either my turret or my R2-D2. The IS misses again as he was trying to shoot there for my R2-D2. And now this KV-5 is a one-shot, so I'm just going to back up and finish him off. So now it's basically just this IS left. The artillery just got spotted, and so I'm thinking at this point I'll be able to get a top gun, although I take a few dumb shots here. As I probably should have stayed a little bit farther away so I could get good shots on the IS's lower plate, but instead I kind of rush in, take a bad shot there. The KV-5 is a tall tank, so it's not always easy to shoot down on the other enemy tanks, and then that was a poor angle to try to hit the IS at, so that shot bounces as well. I get that shot to pen, and then the T-34 steals my kill, so I don't end up getting top gun, but still a pretty good round. I get just about 1450 raw experience and about 4300 damage and steel wall. So a really nice round with the KV-5. And now let's go to the last round that I wanted to show you guys with the FCM 50t. So here's the final round that I wanted to show you guys. It's with the FCM 50t. And it's a round on highway. The FCM 50t is another tier 8 premium tank that gets preferential matchmaking, so it will never see higher than tier 9s, which is actually really nice. This tank is good. I think people often underestimate it, but it's got a great gun, and similar to the KV-5, I think it doesn't have a lot of armor. You get the occasional lucky bounce, but the fact that it has a heavy tank's hit points is really something that you can take advantage of. It means that you can afford to take an extra hit, whereas with the Type 59, which doesn't have as many hit points, it has maybe 12 or 1,250, something like that. So you have to be a little more careful with a tank like that. But I really like the FCM. It's a lot of fun to play, and it's got great DPM, and the gun is better than it is on the Type 59. It gets better penetration, better aim time, better accuracy, so you can really deal out some good damage with this tank. So as you can see, this is a round on highway, a map that I don't like that much. I don't think very many people do unless you're an artillery player. And basically what I decided, or what I've started to do now, is when I spawn on the north, I almost never go to the west. It just always seems like it's a death trap, so I tend to play the north side pretty conservatively, particularly if I'm in a TD, but even if I'm in a medium tank, I'll sometimes just sit in this bush, as you can see me doing here, and shoot at the enemy tanks that get spotted as they try to cross up into the city from that southwest side. And here you'll really be able to see the DPM that this FCM can deal out. This is pretty much exactly what you want to happen when you take this position, because when the enemy gets caught before they can get up into the city, you have perfect side shots from this bush. And as you can see, I'm not getting spotted whenever I'm taking these shots, so I can just sit here and shoot at these guys' sides at will. With this tank's fast reload too, I can make them hesitate to try to push into the city and just kind of shave off some of their hit points before they can really engage my allies that are spotting them and facing them kind of head on over there. And I'm just really trying to take shots at whoever I have the best angle at the moment. Yeah, this Jagdpanzer IV is a little closer to me, and so actually when I take that shot, you'll see I get spotted there. The Sixth Sense pops up. I'll take one more shot before backing off because there is artillery in this round, so I have to be a little careful, and I set fire to that Ferdinand, so that was a lucky shot. I took a bit of a risk not moving around a little bit more, but fortunately I don't think artillery was focused in this area. They were probably more focused on all the Allied tanks that I have in that corner, so no, I don't think any shots land near me. So as you can see, in a pretty short amount of time I've already managed to do 2,700 damage. And now we don't have anybody on the northern flank, that northwestern flank, and here I make a bit of a stupid drive right into that sign thinking that I could destroy it, and I get stuck on it. I hate those things that Wargaming has all over these maps where it's, you know, stuff that you think you should be able to drive over that you can't. So I turn around here to support the north. I think it's really what the north side should do is just not send anybody at all to the northwest except for maybe a scout, because it's a lot easier to defend this side if the enemy team is forced to actually try to advance past this hill instead of going down the hill to meet them. It gives the advantage to the enemy team. Whereas here you can really set up in a position and force the enemy to move up over the hill and kind of expose themselves. So I got a few shots into those tanks that are moving up towards our base. As you can see, we're winning this game pretty easily, so at this point I'm just trying to basically dish out as much damage as I can. I get shot there by the SU-152, who I get kind of lucky and he only tracks me. You do get some lucky bounces with this tank. You get some bounces off your mantlet, and your tracks actually absorb a fair number of shots as well. They're pretty large. You can kind of side scrape actually with this tank. There you can see the gun depression isn't great over its back, although in general the gun depression is actually pretty good on this tank, considering it's a French tank. So the T-34-85 gets a few shots into me, and since I don't really care how much damage I take at this point, I poke out and try to take another shot on that SU-152. Unfortunately, I bounce off his mantlet, and this T-34-85 gets a little over-ambitious, and I'm able to kill him and get a final kill shot on the SU-152. So that's the end of the round. I hope you guys enjoyed these replays, and maybe that gave you an idea of how each of these tanks plays. As you can see, I got Confederate in that round, and I did almost 5,000 damage again, so a really nice round. But anyway, thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys later.